We all carry a carefully woven image of who we think we are. A name, a mind, a body, a personal history, and a lifetime of memories. These feel like the core of our identity, the foundation of our existence. But look closer. What is your name? It's merely a concept, a label given to you at birth. It's the name assigned to a character that we play here in this lifetime, in this story. This character comes from a particular place, and yet this place is simply another concept. It is a word, a label attached to a particular space. And so in truth, there is no England. It is simply a fictional setting created to give context and a stage to the role of the fictional character. A spinning sphere floating in nothingness we call Earth sets the stage for the stories of 8 billion unique and beautifully crafted characters, each the hero of their own tale. All are navigating a world that is both ordinary and extraordinary, powerfully immersive and vividly imagined. The human body is in a constant state of change. Cells die and regenerate, tissues heal, we age and grow. Rather than a fixed identity, the body is more like a temporary costume we wear. Throughout our lives, we inhabit different versions of it. As children, we play one role, wearing the costume of a child. And as adults, we transition into another costume, another role. And yet, another costume change into old age. You see, the body, it appears to be a vessel. It is serving as a vehicle for the roles that we play in the unfolding story of the character. Each fictional character has its story, facing extraordinary challenges with bravery. Memories and experiences in the life of the character represent the ever-evolving plot lines, the dramas. They are what makes the story interesting. And the different roles of the character make the character interesting and infuse depth into their journey of development. There is the role of teacher, doctor, mother, father, activist, spiritual seeker, adventurer. And in order to maintain absolute intrigue, the roles shift and evolve chapter by chapter. And then there is the mind being the ultimate storytelling mechanism, constantly weaving together narratives to make sense of the character's life and to build continuity. You see, the narratives that the mind tells adds layers to the story. It adds projections and identities. All of these components make for a compelling, realistic, and immersive story. And then one day, the story ends. And then a new story begins, a new place, a new fictional character that is based on a conglomeration of a different set of experiences, a new costume, a new narrative, and a new mental storytelling mechanism. As human beings, we have become so deeply identified with the character that we play that we have forgotten that we are simply playing a brief, temporary role here. Identities are stories that we tell ourselves in order to make sense of existence. And yet it seems that the character that we play is simply a mental construct and a relative sense of self. From this immersive and therefore limited perspective, this sense of self by no means represents our truth. It is, in absolute truth, a false sense of self that we imagine into existence. We are so deeply immersed in the human life story with the unfolding dramas and various roles that we play that we have become so identified with the fictional character, solely identified with the physical costume, and totally engrossed in the narratives that the mind mechanism creates. And yes, it's fun to play this role because we are the protagonist of the story. The hero is adventuring, learning lessons, succeeding, failing, transforming. We are compelled by both the misery and the joy of the character because the variation of it all makes for an interesting and gripping storyline. But in this total immersion, we forgot the bigger picture. This compelling work of fiction means that our attention has been totally absorbed and we are lost in the story, lost in me and my story. And so we go to therapists and talk for hours about me and my story, and we think endlessly about me and my story and the narratives and the dramas, they keep on coming. And it's interesting. Just like reading the autobiography of our favorite celebrity, we are at the edge of our seat, totally engrossed by our human life story. Yet there is an option to untangle our sense of self from this fictional character that we have come to think that we are. We can remember to step out of the role that we are temporarily playing and remember that it's just a role and that it will end. And for this fleeting moment, this is the role that we adopt. If we take this gripping work of fiction too seriously, we are simply losing sight of the bigger picture. And we forget that we are actually identifying with a temporary fictional character. The story is so compelling that we are fully and powerfully immersed in vivid imagery. We forget that there is a much larger reality outside of the story unfolding before our eyes. And in fact, beyond the story, there is a much larger and truer sense of self. During enlightenment, you realize the human being you thought you were is just a character in a play, and that the world you thought you were in is just a stage. And so you go through a process of radical deconstruction of your character to see what's left when it's gone. Jed McKenna. The storytelling mechanism of the mind is what primarily reinforces the fictional character and this false self-image. We are so addicted to thinking because thoughts are exciting, they are stimulating, and they are all-consuming. We want to think thoughts about me and my story because it's interesting and we want to know what happens next, just like any other brilliant work of fiction. The storytelling mechanism of the mind, it keeps us gripped, and we are so interested in the stories of the mind that we just keep feeding thoughts with our attention. The thoughts in the mind of our human character are as sticky and spellbinding as the narration of the character in the novels that we read. And the sequence of events and dramas that unfold in the tale of the human lifetime are just as enthralling as the experiences of the character in the movies we watch. You see, just as we lose our sense of self while watching or reading a gripping work of fiction, we have also lost our sense of self in the human soap opera that we are temporarily watching. But as we practice witness consciousness, we make a leap out of immersion with the story, and we remember that we are the one that watches. we are the one that witnesses. We remember another point of awareness sat on the couch in the living room reading the story. So when we remember that we are the watcher of the drama, then we make this shift of awareness into a truer sense of self, into a deeper sense of self. And we come to realize that the movie, the novel, or the theatre production is actually being observed, and we are the observer of it. It doesn't mean that we can't still star in the movie and enjoy the exciting plot of the character. We just remain aware of the bigger picture. We remain aware of what the character is going through from an objective standpoint. And ultimately, we step out of the matrix. We see past the limited confinements of the temporary character. We can still enjoy the experience, but there is a great relief and freedom that comes through realizing that all the dramas, narratives, and emotional experiences of the hero are all temporary. And what may matter deeply to the character does not matter to the witness, the one that watches. In fact, after jumping out of our immersive state and our entanglement with the character, it seems absurd that we ever even thought that the movie was real to begin with. Joseph Campbell's insights remind us that heroism is not confined to epic tales, but it actually pulses through the veins of any human character navigating daily life. We are the heroes of our own story, and we are boldly navigating each chapter, daring to ride the rhythms of the human experience story, and choosing to embark on a grand adventure. So, as Campbell would say, follow your bliss. And remember that true heroism lies in the choices we make and the courage that we summon when we face our personal challenges. It lies in our motivation to face our fears, uncover our shadows, and truly allow ourselves to feel whatever it is that the character is feeling. Paradoxically, the other side of the coin suggests that the story has already been written by an unknown author, a mysterious influence. With concepts such as fate, destiny, and absence of time, cause and effect, or karma, we may see how certain universal spiritual laws have already written the story. With such an incomprehensible reality, it's not far-fetched to suggest that perhaps through ways that we may not fully grasp, the individual human soap opera is predetermined. And if this concept is embraced, a certain level of surrender and allowing can arise. The path of non-resistance may alleviate much of the resistance that the fictional character creates along the way. When we consider the notion that thoughts are just stories of the mind, we can sometimes choose to let go of the perpetual, never-ending storytelling mechanism, to be still, to find inner stillness, to let go of the thoughts, to lose interest for a second in the thoughts and the story of your life, to see what is beyond the fiction, and so that truth may reveal itself. As Rumi so beautifully put, let the water settle and you will see the moon and the stars mirrored in your own being. Since the mind primarily reinforces the fictional character, when the mind is still, we let go of the false persona. Throughout our day, time and time again, we can remind ourselves to be aware of being aware. We can remind ourselves to watch the fictional character go through whatever it is going through. And we can wake up from our immersive experience and jump into the position as the audience. And as we awaken to the larger reality outside of the story, a sense of I awakens that goes way beyond the fictional nature of the temporary character. Thank you so much for watching this video. My name's Jasmine. If you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye bye bye.